Kouri Richins has once again captured national attention after a newly released prison mugshot began circulating online. The image, showing the children's grief author with a blank expression and noticeably fresh-faced appearance inside a Utah correctional facility, quickly reignited conversations surrounding one of the most disturbing and controversial criminal cases in recent years. For many people following the case, the contrast remains difficult to ignore. On one side is a woman who once presented herself publicly as a grieving widow and caring mother. On the other is the growing cloud of accusations that transformed her into the central figure of a shocking homicide investigation involving the death of her husband, Eric Richins. The release of the new mugshot immediately spread across social media and entertainment news platforms. Some viewers focused on her emotionless stare. Others commented on how calm and composed she appeared, despite the seriousness of the charges surrounding her case. The image itself may look simple, but for many observers, it symbolizes the dramatic fall of someone who once appeared to embody sympathy, healing, and family recovery. Before the allegations became international headlines, Kouri Richins had built a very different public image. Following the sudden death of her husband in 2022, she spoke openly about grief and parenting struggles. She even released a children's book designed to help young kids cope with losing a parent. The book centered on emotional healing and family support, themes that resonated deeply with many readers at the time. But as investigators continued examining the circumstances surrounding Eric Richins' death, the narrative changed completely. Authorities later alleged that Eric Richins died after consuming a lethal dose of fentanyl. Prosecutors claimed the substance was mixed into a drink before his death. The investigation soon expanded into a much larger case involving financial pressure, suspicious behavior, and alleged attempts to obtain powerful drugs before the incident occurred. As details emerged, public reaction became intense. Many people struggled to reconcile the image of a grieving author with the accusations outlined by investigators. News coverage exploded across television, podcasts, online commentary channels, and true crime communities. Every court appearance generated new debate, and every released document added more attention to the already high-profile case. The latest prison mugshot only intensified that fascination. In the newly released image, Richins appears expressionless, staring directly into the camera without visible emotion. Unlike glamorous courtroom photos or polished public appearances from earlier years, this image presents a much harsher reality. There are no interviews, no public statements, and no carefully managed presentation, just a prison-issued photograph tied to a criminal prosecution that continues drawing national interest. Supporters and critics reacted very differently after the image surfaced online. Some people argued that the public should avoid judging someone solely based on appearance, especially before a final verdict is reached. Others believed the photo reflected the weight of the allegations and the collapse of the life she once publicly displayed. Across social media platforms, debates quickly erupted over guilt, innocence, media obsession, and the ethics of true crime culture itself. The case also sparked wider discussions about how quickly public perception can shift. At one point, Richins appeared in interviews discussing grief, motherhood, and emotional recovery. Her story generated sympathy and support. But after investigators revealed their allegations, that sympathy transformed into suspicion almost overnight. For many observers, the emotional complexity of the case is what keeps people watching so closely. At the center of everything are unanswered questions, conflicting narratives, and a family tragedy that evolved into a criminal investigation with national attention. The prosecution continues building its case, while defense attorneys maintain that Richins should not be convicted in the court of public opinion before the legal process is completed. Even so, each new development, including something as simple as a mugshot, becomes another viral moment tied to the story. And as the case moves forward inside the Utah legal system, interest surrounding Kouri Richins shows no sign of slowing down. As court proceedings continue, the story surrounding Kouri Richins has become far more than a standard criminal investigation. It now sits at the intersection of true crime fascination, media scrutiny, and public debate about image, trust, and deception. Prosecutors continue arguing that the evidence against Richins paints a deeply troubling picture. According to investigators, concerns reportedly began growing long before her husband's death officially became a homicide investigation. Financial issues, insurance questions, and alleged communication records all became major parts of the prosecution's narrative as authorities tried to establish motive and intent. Meanwhile, defense attorneys have strongly pushed back against the accusations. They argue that public attention surrounding the case has created an environment where speculation often spreads faster than verified facts. From their perspective, headlines and viral reactions risk influencing public perception before a jury fully examines every detail inside the courtroom. That tension has become one of the defining elements of the entire case. Every hearing, filing, and released photograph now generates widespread reaction online. News organizations continue analyzing body language, facial expressions, and courtroom appearances. In many ways, the newly released prison mugshot became another example of how intensely people remain invested in the story. For some viewers, the blank stare in the photo appeared cold and unsettling. Others saw exhaustion, stress, or emotional detachment after years of nonstop media coverage. The reactions revealed how differently people interpret the same image depending on what they already believe about the case. And that may be why this story continues dominating conversations. Unlike many criminal investigations that fade from public attention over time, the Richin's case combines several emotionally powerful elements at once: family tragedy, alleged betrayal, mystery, media attention, and the disturbing contrast between public image and criminal allegations. The children's book she released after her husband's death remains one of the most discussed parts of the story. Critics often point to the emotional irony surrounding its publication, while others caution against turning personal grief into entertainment for online audiences. The situation has forced many people to question how much of anyone's public persona truly reflects reality behind closed doors. At the same time, the human cost of the case remains impossible to ignore. Beyond the headlines and courtroom drama is a family permanently changed by loss, accusations, and intense national attention. The children connected to the case continue growing up under the shadow of one of America's most widely discussed true crime stories, while endless online commentary keeps the situation constantly in the public eye. Legal experts believe the trial itself could attract enormous media coverage once it fully begins. Because of the case's popularity, jury selection and courtroom management may become especially complicated. Finding jurors untouched by online discussion or news coverage could prove difficult after years of viral headlines and social media debate. Even now, public curiosity continues growing instead of fading. The release of the latest mugshot reminded many people that this is no longer simply a viral internet story. It is an active criminal prosecution with potentially life-changing consequences. And while the public continues debating guilt and innocence online, the actual legal battle is still unfolding inside the courtroom. For now, Utah remains the center of a case that has shocked true crime audiences across the country. And whether people view Kouri Richin as a grieving widow, a controversial public figure, or an accused killer awaiting trial, one thing is certain: the fascination surrounding her story is far from over.